October 14th, regular workshop, 6:32 p.m. We're going to have a pledge of allegiance. Mr. Bison. Aye.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jesus. Any preliminary announcements? If not,
Roll call. Mr. Ballas excused. Mr. Shields? Here. Mr. Valdez excused. Mr. Brennan?
Here.
Mr. Falls?
Here.
Mr. Ingles?
Here.
President Lloyd?
here. Public speakers?
We don't have public speakers at meeting.
You have nothing to say.
No, not yet.
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, thanks for coming. We're gonna go into new business. Wow.
Okay, just some things that I have on my agenda. Council people may also have some things as I'm finished here. And certainly what I have is open for discussion. We're getting into budget time and toward the end of the year, we're looking at all costs. Suggesting that we request proposals for engineering services, landfill services, new copier, backhoe. Just to elaborate a little bit further, at springtime, I brought up the possibility of RFPs for engineering. It was suggested at that time we wait to budget time to do that, just to see what the market will bear. I'm suggesting that we do that. As far as landfill services, Mr. Brennan brought it up to me why we're going to Westmoreland County, because it's a longer trip. We did look at this last year. The landfill service in Westmoreland was going to hike their fees. We went to Kelly at that time, and I can't recall exactly what they said, but either that they were not entertaining any other municipal landfill uses other than what they already had, and elected not to bid. We did go back to where we are in Westmoreland. They did sharpen the pencil, and they gave us the same cost as we had the year before. As far as the copier, we have a 5-year lease. We're into our 3-year lease now. We have 2 more years to go in that. We can certainly cash it in and see what the market bears on other competitors if we want to. We're paying roughly about $600 a month. Certainly don't want to pay any more than that, but it might be time to do that. As far as the backhoe, if you can recall, our backhoe's on its last leg. We were looking to see if we could ride it out to the end of the year. Met with Mr. Bicey. He thinks we can, but we're not sure, but now's the time to at least request quotes or proposals for a backhoe. We're probably talking of $75,000 or better. We possibly can do that soon and maybe get a lease arrangement and have the cost deferred to 2016. Not sure yet, but anyhow, on point number 1, those are some of the things that I bring up to council for consideration.
Can we have some discussion on this?
Sure.
Would you put that into the budget, the backhoe, into the 16 budget? Is that something you're talking about doing? Or is that something we're just gonna do now?
Well, we can RFP now, but it certainly would be put into the 16 budget for payment.
Okay. And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to continue on backhoe. I mean, I don't know what the thing is with the Homestead Cemetery, but what about theirs up there? They're not used, or you can't, that's not.
We don't know that. You know that?
That'd be part of their assets that'll be liquidated. We don't know what the
Well,
cost
we
is.
can buy that.
It's an older used backhoe. It's not.
It's too small.
It's old
Oh,
and
it's
it's
too
small.
small.
It is small.
Okay.
But
Disregard.
we could buy a used backhoe. West Homestead bought a used backhoe. But
We're just saying.
I know, and I'm just saying too. But I think we could, I'm just asking how we're gonna pay for it. Are we gonna budget it into
Budget for next
16,
year.
that's all.
Or, you know, maybe a 2 or 3 year lease on it.
Uh-huh.
We won't have to make a payment until next year.
I think we should look at a smaller, another piece of machinery for back there as well, as far as like a skid loader.
Front end loader.
Looking for a small, not even a front end loader, even if we could find one, but I think we should have Bob or someone look into seeing what's out there, keeping his eye out on what could be possibly used as a secondary unit back there to keep sand, salt, and whatnot going separately, and that could be put out and used at other places as well. I
Along the
talked
lines-
with, what's that?
Right, all right.
I talked with one of the men back there about that when we looked at the old backhoe. And we were discussing how another piece of machinery would really help out the borough. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah, you're right.
agree?
Yes, especially a skid steer, we could use that, and
You could use that in multiple things.
especially get a big snow, we could use it in alleys to clean them up and stuff like that.
We could get a brush attachment for it, you could brush down lots of things. I mean, I think it would be an asset. And it doesn't have to be a brand new one either. We could find one probably reasonably priced somewhere. I see them all the time.
What's that one up in the cemetery, so you can do.
Well, that's smaller. That's true. But I might bid on that too.
Oh, okay.
But I'm thinking it would be a good idea. What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, I think so.
And what do you think about the Kelly Run situation? Can you give us some input on Kelly Run? Because I talked to one of the men back there.
We had 4 flat tires last week.
Wow.
Going to that landfill out there.
The one we're going to now.
They have it backing over garbage,
It's a mess out there, he said.
and it's just, I mean, that's $1,200 for 4 tires.
We have to send somebody out every time.
Did we have a problem
Hopefully
before?
we go and
Yeah.
put them back.
We've already building was here right now.
From what they told me, Kelly Run is a clean operation,
Yeah, you
really
dump-
clean.
Yeah, you dump one stone and they just push everything with their
But
machine.
it was okay for a while, right? Because when we first went there was a lot of complaining and they did something with the
Right
run.
now, they're back to the way it was.
Okay.
Now, do they reimburse us on these whenever they're crap?
We'll check it out again. I know last year they weren't accepting any more municipalities.
Really? Crazy.
The one up there we go to now, I work up there, they were closing that place down a year ago, they had to get special permits to open it back up. It was being closed down, I don't know what happened. It was in the local newspaper up there,
I
it was
think they're
closing.
running out of room,
Yeah,
so, yeah, they're always having problems with dumping where they shouldn't be dumping.
right.
But
Since we're talking about backhoe, and backhoe meaning lifting salt, will we have access to our salt by December?
I hope so.
You mean getting into it?
Yeah.
It's-
Access.
They're gonna have to move some trailers around.
When do we have delivery? When are we
Well, I
expecting
got-
salt delivered?
I got about 1,200 ton back there now. But I got 3 trailers there and all these construction guys parking.
We notified the contractors
We're
about
supposed to have a
doing that.
meeting with them.
Yeah, they parked over there, the construction guys, don't walk.
Well, some of them refuse to do it.
I think we need to tell them by November 15th, or whatever date we come up with,
I think
that they need to be,
End of
have
this
this
month.
stuff
It's
moved.
only a block away,
Yeah, well,
it's free parking a block away, most construction guys would die there.
Well, just write a letter to them that the vehicles have to be moved by November 15th, or they could be towed. I don't know what the, you know.
You still have the business to run.
We'll look like a bunch of idiots if we get a snow, we can't get
Sorry,
to
we
our
can't
salt.
get out because they're blocked in. We can't, they got tagged.
we'll get it, get all the things out.
We can't get out.
Not to bring the big truck.
Yeah.
That's easy enough.
Yeah.
I worked down in West Virginia a couple of winters ago, we had to park a mile away, and they shuttled us to the job site. And if you didn't like it,
You walk.
you were done, they laid you off, you were done. So I mean, that's how the real world works.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, number 2, taking a look at all of our costs and legal tax service, so we're still tied in for an additional 2 years with our contract for legal tax service for the collection of delinquent real estate garbage and delinquent garbage. And this was an issue that was brought up in our early intervention analysis. Checking the contract further, we're locked in for another 2 years. My plan is to approach the principals and to let them know that we will RFP it in 2 years, and could they possibly sharpen the pencil for the next 2 years and give us a little bit of leeway on the percentage that they collect as part of their commission. Just to
What's
let
their
you-
commission now?
Between 20 and 30%, depending on the activity, either it's real estate or garbage. Their delinquents 30%. Going rate's usually 15.
I was gonna say that's a little bit high.
The Civil Service Commission, as you know, and you have attached on the pink sheet that you have in your handout, and I think I sent everyone in advance. The Civil Service Commission has taken a look at the rules and regulations. Council hasn't, and the Civil Service
Look like that?
Commission met last week, we took a look at them, and they are meeting at the 29th of October to adopt the new rules and regulations that will advance those to council, which you have in front of you, for council to adopt at a meeting in November. And once they're in place, then we can go ahead and begin the process of selecting and testing candidates for a list.
Bob, did you say November it should be adopted?
Council should be adopting them by November at the latest.
In talking with Harry, who did our report, he suggested we do a different application.
The application itself.
Yeah, the application we used previously was too strict, too whatever, asked too many questions. We did that last time, we adopted a different one because we had some problems in the past with ours. He said he thinks there's too much information we're asking for that we shouldn't ask for initially.
Does he have a recommended template?
He gave me a template.
Good.
Thank you, we'll consider that as well.
Page 11, yeah.
Number 4, winter maintenance training. It's mandatory for all the public works folks to attend a winter maintenance training session, which we have scheduled for the conference room on October 30th for everybody in the public works. That's about 16, 17 people. If they do not attend, they will be docked 8 days. They've been given at least 2 advance notices on that.
8 hours, not 8 days.
I'm sorry, I like to be.
8 days would be pretty stiff.
I was just saying, making sure people were paying
I was-
attention. Thank you. 8 hours if they do not attend, so they've been given certain notice on that. And again, by winter maintenance, I mean snow plowing, ice control, just general kind of things and the new way of doing things. And we will have a certified instructor here to do that. Number 5, time clocks you have when you're attached on your blue sheet. We currently have a contract with a firm called Paytime. Paytime is a third-party payroll service that cuts all our payroll checks, takes care of our monthly and quarterly tax payments to the different regulatory authorities, as well at the end of the year submits all the required forms to, again, the federal, state, and local authorities as to payments. Paytime also has a service of time clocks, whereas a hourly employee can come into work, put their finger on wherever it needs to be, and it's automatically and electronically transmitted directly to Paytime, so that at the end of the pay period, that time is collected, analyzed, calculated, and the paycheck is distributed. That takes out our folks downstairs to tabulate all the numbers. We have run-in occasions more times than not. By the time that we submit our payroll numbers to Paytime, 9 times out of 10, somebody comes in and says, well, we forgot to add this hour. Did you know that so-and-so had overtime? Do you know this? And then it takes a lot of time to do that.
Who does that the most? Never mind, I was just.
6 of one, half a dozen the other, I guess, I'm not gonna mention Anyhow, it knocks out that second guessing, so it does put the burden on the employee to check in and check out at the time, and is electronically calculated. I just bring this up at the workshop for discussion, because it is becoming a problem, and, you know, whether we work the full 8 hours or not, we don't know. If we work 7 hours, and we get paid for 8.
Did they give us a cost on what the machine would cost?
There is a cost, I don't know that right now, I imagine it will be nominal.
I'm sure it'll pay for itself once you clean it.
They are pretty nominal.
I have the detachment to you to take a look at. There's no cost involved in that.
Okay.
I mean, there's no cost that I have attached to that. But we did highlight some areas where it would be helpful to waste management.
It's not a potential contract problem or anything like that, is it?
Management prerogative.
Good, glad to hear that.
Anyhow, take a look at that, something that I bring up.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, security cameras. It was suggested by a number of folks that we install security cameras in Troutman, directed toward the concession stand, and also in and around our public works facility in the back. Mr. Bicey has not complained, but brought up to my attention that there's been some scrap stuff that has been missing. Apparently during the night time, some folks have come in and taken stuff and put it into a scrapyard. Be that as it may, I think for the nominal cost of what it would be to put security cameras in, I would suggest we do that.
In Trout.
Troutman and Public Works.
Well, we've had cameras until this construction started. We had
They
three
what?
cameras for
They
years.
what?
Where'd they go?
They work, well, since they took the towers and everything down, that's where some of them were bolted to.
Then they get thrown away.
I don't know if they got thrown away, but they're gone.
I know we had some back here.
Might as well. We don't have one.
Well, I bring that up because we need to take a look at it. We could go to the general contractor and ask for some
We have 2 cameras that need replaced right now on the building.
Public Works.
Excuse me?
Public Works.
Yeah, but I'm just telling you on the building, I gave you that paperwork from the contractor a couple weeks ago.
Next spring, when we have our new stadium intact, will we be discussing cameras, security cameras for the field and all that?
Absolutely.
And
Maybe that should be talked about now,
Fine.
before they,
I think-
right, maybe they could be put in now rather than wait.
Absolutely. Well, they do all the wiring. That was never part of the plan, original plans for this
No,
year.
it wasn't.
It's,
What they're spending back there, that's like nothing.
I think we ought to ask Joe to talk to.
Absolutely.
On
In lieu of the baseball field use.
it. Yeah. We could talk to Campbell about it. And we did ask the other change to do at the meeting. We asked them about that soccer field is useless. We need different kind of field there.
You're gonna put security cameras inside the concession stand at Trout.
I don't think there's any.
Seemed like that's where most of the theft was going.
They start fires there, they still that, yeah.
Just saying.
Just about a deep fryer.
Well, if we're gonna bring that field up for conversation for a moment, I think we really need to think about what we're gonna do. We need to have this was brought up at the rec board meeting. We're gonna need to have a person who's gonna be in charge of the field. Who's gonna be from Public Works, who's gonna be the go-to person on that field, who's gonna be, know the ins and the outs, and everything there,
Probably need
so.
a half a guy.
And as much as they wanna use it, we may need 2. We may need one.
Well, they're gonna need crews of men to
We
do
may
work.
need one to crew in
Right.
the morning to take care of it and empty trash cans and do things
When
like
everybody's
that.
off the field.
And then we need someone there when they
security-wise,
leave,
you need
because we
somebody
wanna make
out
sure
there
they
and
check. Nothing was damaged, locker rooms
whatever
weren't
it is,
damaged,
You gotta hire somebody.
Well,
and so
Cameras
forth,
is
you know.
not gonna do the whole thing.
I figure it's gonna cost us in excess of $150,000 a year,
Absolutely.
with having to escrow $100,000 over each of the next 10 years. The cost of Munhall is in excess of $150,000, maybe $170,000 a year. And that's if nothing breaks.
Mhm.
That's just dedicating a person
Right,
and the escrow money. So it's an expensive endeavor for us.
absolutely.
Is this person gonna be here from when to when?
I don't know, I'm not gonna be here.
Not
so
that
I don't
far
know
along
if you
here.
guys can decide, but
What you have there, what was there before, Mayor? I mean, like when left the Olenek and Jake, what did they do? They maintained Westfield, right?
They were maintenance, yeah.
But they didn't stay all night.
No,
No.
We
But
do
when
need
there's
someone
events,
there-
they're gonna have to be here if something breaks, if commodes clog, if,
lights go out.
garbage needs picked up and cleaned up in the morning
We-
after
We
the
like to
events,
need
to
someone
go
there in the
sweep up.
evening. I want someone there at the end of the, when that field's used. Okay, everybody's off, it's done.
We have to lock
Let's
it,
check,
or
lock it up.
however we're gonna do
Bathrooms
it.
locked up, the.
Right.
I'm just asking what you did, well, I
Like
know what they did
vandalized
before,
anything.
when them two guys were there.
Well, they were seeding and raking and cutting.
Yeah.
This is gonna be swept and cleaned and squirted off.
And you're buying a
Oh,
machine,
scented.
What machine?
the machine you gotta use.
They're gonna buy the machine.
They are?
Can't, yeah.
What machines
Good
are
person.
that?
There's a machine that's almost, yeah, groomer.
I don't
I
know what they
understand
are.
that's included by, on
68
them.
grand, that ain't bad.
School doesn't have one, get them to split the cost.
But I understand they're gonna include the groomer though.
Oh, they're gonna pay for the groom.
Mhm. That's what I'm understanding that they are.
Hey, I'd
Well, we gotta have
I'd
a
gladly
guy.
buy the groomer. They send a guy down to maintain the field.
They don't use one on their field now.
They don't groom that up.
That's what I've ever seen.
You gotta drop that.
I think they do also come every so often.
You have to do that.
Number seven.
I've never seen them do it.
Number seven, the Steel Valley Cog opened bids for a year 40 on demolition. You have in front of you the three bids that were received. The low bid was Creative Enterprises at $17,000. That was to do three structures. Rather than wait till next week, I'd like to give COG the okay to go ahead, at least from this body, to go ahead and recommend that the COG contract with Creative Enterprises at their low bid was $17,000, so they could go ahead and begin the contracting and the bonding process before they start, because that money needs to be spent before the end of December. So hearing no negative, I'll suggest that we go ahead and do it.
How much money do we have to spend?
We have roughly $30,000 to $40,000 of CDBG money that's gotta be spent before the end of December, so there's money left on the table. And it's not that it goes anywhere else, it's just
That's
gone.
my argument.
No one's gonna spend it by the end
30
of December.
grand,
So,
we lose it.
what process do we have to spend that money?
You can only use it on what was submitted.
That was for demolition.
We need to submit.
So the process to submit is gone.
Yes, that was done 2 years ago.
You need to submit 3 or 4 more properties than what you intend to tear down, in case you run into legal difficulties and so forth with certain properties that you can't get cleared to tear down, and it wasn't done.
Okay.
So,
So,
It wasn't done.
so moving forward, do we have, any other properties that were on the list to use the demo money for?
Yes, but we can't because they're in the historical district.
Okay,
Which is crazy.
why don't we do it anyway? Tell them
We
to
can't
deny us.
we can't use the federal money.
then they do things to you with the federal money, and they fine you, and wanna take you off the list.
Isn't there an appeals process? No appeals process? I can't believe that building's only,
We did.
that's gonna be allowed to stand.
We did.
That shitbox is gonna fall over.
That's not right.
The one on Ninth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should do it with our own money at the end of the year. And, I don't think there's anything, if we go through the local harb, we can get approval through the local harb, and we can tear that building down.
I mean,
It's a
somebody-
hazard.
Somebody had to point out, somebody in town pointed out that that was a historic landmark.
No,
No.
no, the historical district.
Or, okay, that changed that.
In the district there.
So is all of 8th Avenue Historical District?
Yes.
So then we can't knock that garage building down, that old, building that's,
One of them had the fire and all that stuff.
Only if it's an emergency.
Yes, you can. You
Well,
can
I
knock it
think,
down.
if I can speak to this, I think you can, and I'll explain why. One, when we restored the power to that building, when I originally pulled the power off, when that building was still collapsing, when we restored the power to that, the agreement was, because the firewall was separated between the, building next door and that building. Okay, there was damage to the firewall. That building was so, and our engineer reported that building was so full of combustible materials, tires, cars, all that other shit that was in it that the roof came down on. They were supposed to remove all that, and I don't think they have.
No, they have.
So the fire load, which is massive, is still there. The firewall that's separating, and Boomer can speak to this, the firewall that's separating is just some drywall that they hung up to satisfy the minimum, bare minimum of the code. That's not the intention of that. So I think you have every right to go in there, because that building is technically a hazard. And the owner has not met his end of the bargain on that.
No,
They
he
have
hasn't.
removed it.
And I did have, a couple of contractors look at that, because Mike Waldridge brought up that it could be done for $18,000.
28,000. It could have been knocked down for
Well,
28,000
I thought he
that
was-
night.
28,000, and I got someone that came in, and they said 26,000 plus $55 a ton on all that prefab concrete stuff. And I don't know, I think that was only gonna be another $6,000 or $8,000, so actually 35,000 isn't that bad, if that's what you wanna do. But as late as this week, somebody, a prominent Steel Valley resident, asked me about that, and potentially to use that as warehouse space. You
Well,
know,
tell him to
if
put
we
it
could
in
get,
writing.
well,
The council.
I told him that if he's sincerely interested, and he puts up the $5,000, we'll take it to sheriff's sale and clear the title, and he can have it.
I think
He
we
can
should,
buy it.
I think we should do that anyway. I don't think we
But
should
we
wait
don't
for
wanna
him.
own it.
I know.
We don't want our guys cleaning it
Someone will
up.
buy it.
But,
Very good.
you know, hopefully this guy comes through. Hey, if it gets torn down, it's good for me. I hope it does get torn down. But, you know, I'd rather see the building used for something useful than to just tear it down and have an empty lot.
But that's a dump, Dan, and you know it, that night it would have been gone, and I'll tell you one other thing.
The solicitor told us not to
The
tear it down.
solicitor.
I'm not gonna go over it, we had something happen 4 years ago tonight.
You
Just to
know,
everybody right now.
okay,
It could have been torn down 4 years ago, I don't care about it. I
dumb.
wanna go with the agenda we have here, I wanna be done with it. I'm not gonna talk about what it cost 4 years ago, the night of the event,
Are you requesting that the chair move on?
yes.
Let's move
I
on.
have one statement.
Hold on a second. I disagree with that.
Point of order.
We're allowed to talk about work session material, and that's what work sessions are
That
for,
wasn't on
is
here.
to talk
That's-
about
But that's
stuff.
not on here.
It doesn't need to be on here.
No, but we can move to that after.
Okay, unbelievable.
I have one statement to
Well,
make.
we're gonna move on, you can bring that statement up later.
There will never be, as long as I'm mayor, again, a building that's torn down without me declaring an emergency on it. And I'll sign the emergency, and that shit will never happen again, what happened down here.
That's good to
all.
know.
Yes, you can bet on it.
Okay, number 8, preliminary budget. I hope to have a budget to you by next Wednesday, the 21st. A preliminary budget at worst will be Friday, the 23rd. Again, that's a preliminary budget. You have on your gold handout, I didn't get into it, but it's just a current financial position. But if you look at the very last page, I have a budget schedule there. We're looking at October 28th for police and fire to have a presentation to council on their end of the budget. On November 4th, Public Works and Sanitation. On the 11th of November, Recreation Administration. 18th, we'll discuss the revenue projections, and thereafter, any other meetings that we need, and horse trading to take place among council members, and hopefully to have an adopted budget by December 16th. So that's the plan. Again, if I don't have it by the 21st, you'll have it by the 23rd. That's a preliminary budget. We've asked and are asking the department heads and the folks, the different committees of council to offer their wish list. I'll be putting everything together, and that will be the preliminary budget. Number 9, hosting Connect Executive Committee, November 11th. Connect, as you know, Munhall is part of a 32 municipal group called Connect. all the municipalities that surround the city of Pittsburgh. On November 11th, we'll be hosting that executive committee, that's roughly 20 to 30 people from the different municipalities. That will be a morning, that will be over in the conference room, yes, just to let you know in advance. Number 10 is the early intervention program analysis. We had a presentation a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you want to discuss any items in that right now. Some of the big items that came out that will be part of the preliminary budget was a suggestion to have a 1/3 mill increase that would be dedicated entirely to the library, as opposed to taking that 1/3 from our existing millage base, freeing up that money potentially to do some infrastructure repairs. A couple other ideas were thrown around regarding garbage and not doing any more commercial. Taking a look at large apartment complexes, maybe not to do that anymore, perhaps having them contracted out. Whether that happens or not, I don't know, that will be discussed. In addition to increasing the garbage fee by $50 per household to cover our costs. Those were the three big items, I think, that came out of the early intervention analysis that we are to take a look at on the short term. We'll have another presentation toward the end of November on our operations review, 4, 5, and 6 of the 6-phase analysis. That'll be the report on our different departments, that's police, public works, sanitation, administration, recreation, and recommendations going forward. So we're paying $54,000 for that study. I think we should take great heed into those recommendations.
I have a point of comment, since those were the biggest things that you took from it. I had, I think, potentially a bigger thing to take from it. When, you know, they noticed what we already saw in that our earned income tax collections went up with the consolidation to the countywide collection system. George did it for our region, and we collected about $500,000 more in wage taxes, okay, earned income tax locally than what we had in 2012. Okay, now that we have this, what's the other guy we hired? Turnkey. If someone didn't pay, I mean, the bottom line is that the good citizens apparently weren't paying up. I mean, do you take anything different from that? If because we used a different company that now has the ability to tie into state income tax returns and find people and make them pay their local income tax, earned income tax. What it means is that people didn't pay us $500,000 in 2012 and 2011 and 2010.
Is that $500,000 over those years or every year?
No, 1 year. So can't we have Turnkey go back to legal tax and compare who legal tax collected from in 2012, 11, and 10, and compare that list to the 13 list that increased it by $500,000, and then for people that were here and just didn't pay us, we're entitled to that money, which is potentially, it could be $600,000, $700,000, $800,000.
Did legal tax collect earned income tax in those years?
Yes, that's who did it until it was sent to the countywide. But it wasn't, I don't think it was that all of a sudden, you know, gold fell from the skies and there was a rainbow. I mean, those people were living here and making money and not paying us wage tax, or earned income tax. Right?
I had no idea it was that much.
Well, that's what basically bailed us out in, you know, 2014 was all that bump in revenue. Can you follow up on that, Bob, and see if Turnkey and legal tax can work together?
As a matter of fact, I think they're hosting the thing down the street.
Well,
They'll be down there right now.
we don't go too long arguing about that crappy building down there, we could do that. Anybody else?
I just want.
Are you on to item 11?
No, no, no.
I'm finished.
We could be.
No,
The mayor was.
Yeah, I just want
I
to
wouldn't want him to speak out of order.
make one comment. I won't do that a lot, so. I want to make the comment that, this is the first time I've seen one of these. I commend to the people responsible, whether it be Bob Callen and Rick, because I think all council was looking for this, just the top page. If nothing else, they'll say, here it is.
Absolutely, that's the
Here's
top
what we
page.
have, here's what we spent.
Good
here's
job,
what
Mr.
we
Brennan.
done."
And we're gonna announce that at the meeting.
It was a good, very good, I'm glad to see this, and I think I told you about that,
Right.
So I can tell you number 4 is gonna change, it's not gonna be that great, I can tell you right now. But
Well, that's beside the point. The point is, you got a financial report what council should have every meeting, along with the department heads, and that's the main point.
We try to give announcements through the year, Ray, and we have public meetings, and no one attends them.
Yeah,
The meetings are public, and we invite them to everyone.
Don't call these people nobody, they're somebodies, they're here.
They weren't at the meeting.
What for should we be here?
Um,
You give us a lousy piece of paper and you keep everything else. That's what Hitler did in World War II.
you give them more than a piece of paper.
all right,
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, Hitler has just been revoked. Okay, can we move on to 11?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right.
Mr. Brennan.
all right, I had a couple questions. Did we close out all of our accounts that needed to be closed out, Bob, for
Citizens,
Citizens Bank, correct?
we're in the process of doing that and should have that done, completed this week.
That's not all of them.
No, we just closed out a big one today, we just got in today our Act 208 pension money. That goes to both police, and I was waiting for that, it's been wired, now we'll transfer all that to First Commonwealth.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because we're gonna be penalized if we don't have it closed by the end of October.
We just wrote a big check for 900 and some
I
thousand
know,
dollars.
saw it. Also, I did want to talk about that building that the mayor wanted to knock down that night, before this discussion came up with you all over there. And one of the ways that I think we could do that is to sheriff sale that building, because it is a viable piece of property on Main Street, on 8th Avenue. And if we're not gonna pay to knock it down, ever, because obviously we don't have enough money in COG money to knock it down, because it's gonna cost too much to do, then it's gonna sit there for infinity, along with the meters that are on bags there for 2 years in front of them. 2 years. So I think we should sheriff sale the property. I think it's a viable way to get rid of it. Someone will buy it for a nominal fee, and they will fix it up and turn it into a tax-paying property again.
It's fine with me.
And if they don't, then we'll fix it up and turn it into a viable property again. Someone has to do something with it. It can't sit there for another 5 years, or 3 years, and rot away, and for us to sit here and talk about it, that the judge didn't want to do something. We need to do something with it. If indeed we're gonna have $100,000 left over this year, we're in a much better financial situation than the prior year. I have to say all of the borough is in a much better situation than it was in the last 2 years.
Thank you.
Okay? And I want to bring that up at our meeting, that all the departments have been working to try and cut corners, save money, and whatnot. But I think that's the way to go, guys. And if we're not gonna have time to discuss things that someone wants to discuss, then don't come to the meeting.
Mr. Brennan, that wasn't my,
Don't come to the meeting.
arguing about what
Stay
it
at
would have
home.
cost, what it would have cost 3 years ago to tore down, that's what I was talking about. Every meeting we talk about it, what it would have cost the night of the event.
I don't care what it costs, I
Well,
don't
I
care
understand
about
that.
who was there.
Every meeting we discuss this thing, it's brought up, what it would have cost them,
I'm
what it would have
giving you
cost them.
guys an option.
And I'm done with it.
I'm giving you guys an option. If you wanna ramble, go ahead and ramble. but I'm giving
I'm
you
not
guys
rambling
an
at all.
option
No
of
rambling
what
involved.
we can do, and it's something
If
that can
anybody
be done.
rambles here, it's you, Mr. Brand, just so you know.
I'm not rambling, I'm trying to
Call it
talk
what
and
you
have a
want.
conversation.
Call it what you want.
Gentlemen,
It's okay,
gentlemen, and I use that term loosely.
okay,
All the chair did was ask that that conversation be moved to other items,
that's fine,
so that we could follow an orderly fashion
I
that was
agree.
prescribed in writing for
that's
us.
fine.
So I don't understand the objection.
But the sheriff's sale point you have, may not be a bad idea.
I
The
think
I mean, it would
solicitor-
make a nice parking lot too, if one wants it, because you need the parking on eight.
How long will that process take?
The solicitor
Not long.
warned us that we,
2 months?
and I agree with
them.
them,
Get the business about on property.
that we don't wanna be in the business of owning property that's gonna cost us time and money
If
and
we
effort.
have to do it, we have
Especially,
to.
well, I agree with that, but I don't know that we have to do it. Like I said, I just talked to somebody this week, and if we can get a deal worked out, then I think we move. But there's also an potential environmental hazard there, that if we do what you prescribed without doing our due diligence before, then we own an environmental hazard. I don't think we wanna own that.
Dan, you've been saying that for 3 years.
I'm tired of saying, it.
3 years.
Let's do
3
it.
years, and I
Yeah,
think
you know.
you were interested in it.
You know what,
And that's the
Mayor?
big one.
I'm a little miffed at your innuendo about me on this issue. Nobody benefits more
It's
if
not
that
an
building's,
innuendo.
would,
It's the
could
truth.
you just be quiet for 1 minute so I can make the point? You've brought this up at least 3 months in a row. Nobody benefits more from that building being torn down than me.
Then
Nobody.
Why didn't you buy it like you wanted to, you said at one time?
Cause I don't have the money to buy it.
I heard,
It's gonna need too much money put into it.
what I was told furthermore is that if you could have bought the damn thing, the people would have been very happy. Oh, I'll give you credit there.
Well,
But you didn't. You came and you said you had another buyer a couple months back,
Yep, and that fell
and
through.
that fell through. Why didn't you tell council who this buyer was and go and negotiate with them and let's talk about it? Let's find out who these people
It was the
are instead of
hydroponics
secret
guy.
stuff.
It was the hydroponics guy. I don't remember the name of his company. It's called hydroponics.
I
He
draw my
bailed.
argument. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Anything else?
When can we start, if you want to start the procedures for sheriff's sale, why don't we just do it?
We'll talk to Greg, our solicitor, the meeting next week, and we'll start the process.
Start the process, let's do it.
Well, we need to have a vote on it with council.
Well, we will after.
Needs to do-
See, we're allowed, sorry.
All right, but we need to discuss it first, we can't just,
We need to discuss the legalities with our solicitor and then make an informed decision going.
but we gotta do something, we can't let it go any longer.
Who owns the building?
He don't pay taxes on it, that's what we can, he hasn't paid.
So he don't pay taxes, so that way you can't.
Can sheriff sell?
There's about $70,000.
We talked about eminent domain,
Right.
there's other ways to do it.
Sheriff sale's the best way to do it.
Between
Someone-
the owner and the potential new buyer. and the
We
sheriff's
talked to
office.
Greg, I agree.
Right.
We talked to Greg on this, next week.
It's been long enough, and if this guy doesn't come through,
He'll come
you know.
through, we talked to Greg and we.
I mean, enterprise zone, Chuck Sterrett was trying to
I
find
remember
someone to
that,
get
yeah,
in
I
on it.
remember that.
You know, there was efforts to do how to do things, and obviously,
Well, I think everybody's looking at it.
it's run its course now.
That
Cheap
you
dump.
just don't buy it
Those keep
without
up.
another
Right.
big expense of,
No.
Because now that you-
garbage.
Sheriff's sale would have been the last thing I
Tearing
think
it
we're there.
down, tearing it down.
What's that?
Probably there.
No.
All right,
Maybe the bagel.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Great, do we have a second for that?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Harvey opposed.
We wanna go down to Voodoo. We wanna go down to Voodoo, free food, turnkey's down, they're sponsoring it.
Where's it at?
Voodoo Lounge, Voodoo, Brewery, 9th Avenue, the old Homestead Municipal Building. I guess I pick up the tab, right?
They're putting that garage up.
Unless Munhall's the limit.
Two things, two.
ain't easy being the store, you know?
Hey,